So I had some time today to start working on my Forrest Gump snapper Comet, I believe. Anyway, so I just took off the recoil starter for the engine and find my cute little rat's nest. And rats had chewed up the ignition coil wire, as well as other connecting safety switch wires. So that's probably why it doesn't start. Anyway, I'm gonna clean this up and fix this tire with some Fix-A-Flat. This is gonna be quite a tough project, maybe. It's very old. I'm gonna start off with trying to unseize this starter motor, maybe. PB Blaster does wonders for these things. And then I'm going to try and see if this motor spins. I'm going to take the spark plug out and shoot some PB Blaster in there, and then take a socket with a breaker bar and just try to move it along a little bit, see if it turns. And also find a new armature, set on toast. So I took out the spark plug, and it looks okay. It looks like there's some oil residue, which means that it's oily in the chamber. And then when I just took my hand, it spins. No problem. It's not seized. Looks like I'm going to be lucky with this. I think maybe if I just clean the carburetor, I mean, maybe I won't even need to, but I'm going to try, you know. And if I can get that starter started, get a new ignition coil, maybe this baby will just start up. Could I get that lucky? Maybe. I went to my bucket of parts, and I found a Tecumseh magneto. Pretty cool. Looks like it fits. Gonna clean the contacts and put that on. Out with the trashed. In with the old. So you guys know, when you're reinstalling the magneto, armature, whatever you want to call it, ignition coil, you have to put a business card in between there. It's generally a certain thousandth of thickness, and you just have to get it as close to the magnet as possible without it touching. So I'm going to crank it and see. How about that? That's pretty good. So I know the starter works, solenoid works, ignition works, battery just needs to be charged a little bit more. I don't know if the battery is going to be any good. It's a snapper battery, so I know it's really old. But nevertheless, I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to charge it overnight. While it was cranking, I didn't really hear any, signs of it wanting to start, So I don't know. Maybe I'm going to check the spark and see how good that magneto is. Let's see if we got spark. Yep, got spark. So I'm going to wait for this battery to charge. If it doesn't do the trick tomorrow, then I'm going to go get a new battery. It's easier for me to test anyway. I may eventually have to get one anyway, right? And then I'm going to tackle that carburetor. That's the oldest Tecumseh carburetor I've ever worked on, or will work on. But looks good. Starter works, ignition, flywheel turns, so it's not seized. Spark plug works. We get the spark. Doesn't have any gas yet. Not really too sure about compression yet, but at least the key works with the ignition. Solenoid works. Starter works. And the magneto works. So those are all good things. We just need to find the compression and the fuel system, and then it should be good. So it's really cold today. It's about 20 degrees, and decided I'm going to try to endure the cold and work on my Forrest Gump Snapper Comet. So last you guys saw is I got the flywheel spinning. The starter does work. The solenoid works. The ignition switch works. I did replace the magneto with a Tecumseh magneto that I got from a lawnmower in my bucket of parts. I went to Walmart and picked up a new battery. Take a guess how much a lawnmower battery is. It's $19.99. It's an industry secret. Now that you guys know, you're gonna probably buy them all up, but I'm pretty sure none of you guys live near me, so I'm good. Anyway, Walmart, $19.99 for a EverStart. Can't beat that. I mean, with a core trade-in, you know, they give you $5 off. It's otherwise it's $25. But anyway, so I just installed this new battery. I'm not gonna crank it yet because I'm gonna check the oil. And I'm going to check the air cleaner and make sure there's no obstructions first before I start it. I don't have any gas in here too, so I'm going to see if there's any obstructions in the fuel lines before I attempt to put gas in it. That's the smart and prudent thing to do, right? I don't want to start it and screw something up later. So it's getting so cold I had to shut the garage, so some light on, so sorry about the backlight. So that's the air cleaner. I've never seen one like this. You know, honestly guys, it looks pretty clean. I mean, just from looking at it, you know, I've seen a lot worse, you know. So here it is. That's the assembly there. 2 flat heads with the twist. And if you look at this, I mean, it's not too bad, you know. The inside is good. Usually the test. Alright, well now it's bad. I didn't see that. You're supposed to see through it. You can't see through it. Brush this off a little bit later. But, you know what, man? I'm gonna try and blow some carb cleaner in there and just give it a crank and see if it'll turn over. As you can see, the choke is stuck open. Almost. You know, guys, I think the head gasket's blown. Because you guys saw vapors coming out of here, right? So it's not supposed to come out of there. So I'm thinking the head gasket's blown. I might have to take the head off. Yeah, I'm looking really closely. I know you can't see it there. But some scorching marks coming out of that area there. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that I have to take the head off because this area right there, I see some burn marks. Or not burn marks, but some kind of residue there. So, and that's where all the vapors were coming from when we tried to start it. So I'm going to have to take that head off and just check it out a little bit better. But first I'm going to take off the carburetor and take it apart. You know, that's first things first. And then I'll tackle the head gasket. Order the part. I figure I'm in here. Figure I'd take the gas tank off and completely drain it and blow it out. I also put a new tube on there. Gonna put a new fuel filter too. Might as well. If I'm gonna clean up this beauty, might as well get her done. Did take the carburetor off. It doesn't look too bad. I'm gonna open it up and blow it out a little bit, and just hope I get that linkage right, you know. Well, alright. Got a new fuel line. Yeah, gas tank is cleaned and blown out, completely empty. And it'll just be ready to be connected to the carburetor when I'm finished cleaning it. Here's the carburetor. And I'm now going to take that ball nut off. Holy cow. Look at that. That's out of control. You ever seen anything like that, man? I don't know if that's salvageable. Or wanting to go through that to clean this. I may just buy a new carburetor because this is completely out of control. Yeah, that's pretty bad. And here's the bolt nut. Focus. There you go. Focus. There you go. Look at that. Is that horrible? That's completely terrible. Crazy, man. Yep, so I may just buy a new carburetor because that's just, you know, too much work to clean up. Yep, the bowl's trashed. The needle's trashed. That doesn't actually look too bad, but maybe I should just get a rebuild kit. Look at that, that's all stuffed up. Stuff. Never gonna get gas. You know, I think this is too far gone, man. It's just too much stuff that goes into the little tiny holes. It's probably better to just get a new carburetor. That's what I'm gonna do. It's not worth it. You always got to remember where these governor rods linkage plugs into which hole. You know, it's very important, and that's why you always take pictures of it. I'm gonna try taking that head off now. So actually, it was really easy to take off. Those bolts weren't on there very tight at all, and just from preliminarily looking at it, the gasket doesn't look bad at all. You know, maybe it just wasn't put on very tight, you know. Have to check it out some more. Looks like there's some scoring on the cylinder head. A lot of carbon buildup. So I just got it to top dead center, and there is some carbon on here, plenty of it actually. But if you try to spin the valves, they don't spin, which means they're on pretty good. and they seem to be seated pretty well. So I'm thinking that it, you know, gets pretty good compression. As for the vapors coming out during start, I mean, I'm looking at the gasket. It doesn't look bad. I don't see any damage to it at all, so I think it just needed to be tightened, you know. The screws were pretty loose, so that may have something to do with it. I'm gonna try to take that gasket off because I want to use a wired bristle brush and clean up all that carbon, and I don't want to damage the gasket. Doesn't it look better already? Oops, that sucks. Carburetor cleaner. Get that carbon out. Loosen that stuff up, man. Don't want that stuff to get caught in between the valves. Then the valves won't be able to open and close correctly, and at least leave some seams, or you don't want any obstructions to the openings. And then you're not going to get good compression. Wired bristle. Gonna make sure that gasket is on nice and snugly. Is snugly a word? And this way it'll be a nice tight seal to the cylinder head. I'm kind of happy that, you know, we took this off and saw that the gasket was not damaged, and it wasn't the gasket. And it wasn't the head gasket. Not only do I not have to buy one, but it looks like, you know, it gives me an opportunity to now clean up this area, which is so vitally important to the proper function of your engine, you know. You didn't want all that carbon buildup and stuff. I'm a little concerned about the valves. I don't want to reseat valves because, well, number one, I've never really reseated valves before. Number two, it seems a little tedious, and I don't want to remove the cylinder block to get access to the control rocker arms and the stuff like that. So hopefully this will do it. Dude, that's like badass, man. This is like almost new. See, that bothers me. There's a hair out of place. I don't like it. Boom. That's top dead center. I think now I'm gonna clean the gasket and put the head back on. Actually, I forgot. I can't put the head back on because I gotta clean that. Starting to look pretty good, guys. Just taking a good look at this gasket. Pristine. See? There's nothing wrong with the gasket. I'm going to put the sucker on. Tighten it up well this time. So I put everything back on again, and I put those bolts on pretty tight. Now that I think about it, when we tried to start it, we saw the fumes coming out of here. Well, that's because the recoil starter is off, and there was 3 bolts that bolt the top part here. So that wasn't very tight because there's no bolts holding it, right? So I think that once we get the carburetor all straightened out, which I'm still going to decide whether or not I'm going to either rebuild it or just buy a new one. If the new one is, you know, under $20 or something like that, why not, right? Just go and buy a new carburetor. Put it on there, put the recoil starter back on, and put some fresh gas in it. We got a new battery. We know the ignition works. We know the solenoid works. It gets spark with the magneto. Starter works. So we know that all that stuff works. All we're going to need is, so we don't know if we have proper compression yet, but we looked at the head and the valves, and they look good. There's no busted gasket or anything like that. So the compression is a question mark, right? Then we've got the fuel. I've cleaned out the fuel tank, remember, and we've got new fuel lines and a new fuel filter. So the fuel should flow evenly and smoothly through the carburetor. We're going to get the carburetor, so we're going to get that fuel fixed out. The spark, we've got the spark, you guys know it, and we've tested it. And so we got spark, we're going to have fuel, and we're going to find out about the compression once we put everything together again, see if it starts. So this was part 2 of my Forrest Gump snapper. It's probably going to take a week or so for me to get my new carburetor. But in the meantime, you know, we made a good dent into the project here. Quite a big hurdle by, you know, removing the carburetor, cleaning the fuel tank, replacing the hoses, taking the cylinder head off and getting the carbon out, checking the valves. So that's a lot, you know, that's a lot for a couple hours. And I'm pretty happy about what we did today. And this was part 2 of it. And stay tuned for more updates on the progression of this Forrest Gump Comet Snapper mower. See you guys next time.